But there's challenges that come with all of this, right? It's an immense amount of work. The work humbles you. The work breaks us down sometimes. It's a hustle. We wouldn't be able to do all the things we do without each other in this case, without this small little team. But you've listened to the episodes. If you haven't listened to them, man, I got to tell you, as a podcaster and as a podcast producer now for other people's shows, one of the things that's the most difficult thing to do is to consciously find ways to represent or share with you past episodes. I often say internally, like we think of ourselves like a mini little Disney from an intellectual property standpoint, right? I get it. Crazy, ambitious, entrepreneurial thinking there, right? But I say that in the context of think about Disney going all the way back to the mouse, to Mickey, right? That's intellectual property that they created and have owned and put out into the world in a myriad of different ways over the last 100 years, almost. And we are similar. Like, we've got incredible episodes from the show under its prior branding and umbrella back in the original days, like 6 years ago when we started this. There are incredibly valuable conversations that exist in that realm. And then even since we rebranded the show in 2024 to be what it is now, Entrepreneurial Thinking, we kind of widened out the scope of conversation that I have. And so, there's so much going on with us that I struggle with sometimes to figure out how we can present it to you again. And we're going to be constantly trying to figure that out. But if you haven't gone back and listened to some of the old episodes, scroll the archives, search for keywords that you're fascinated or curious about, right? They'll show up in the titles. They'll show up in the show notes. You'll be able to find former episodes either in old audio format or now always available in audio and video formats everywhere, because all the podcasting platforms are doing that. So we all have to adapt as podcasters. But there's so much good. It's not just the last couple of episodes that we had, which are also incredible. The next 10 episodes we're going to have are going to be incredible, but there are incredible conversations that we've had last year, 2025, 2024, 2023, 2021, that I encourage you to go find. We are constantly doing a lot of work behind the scenes to try and figure out how to do this. One of the things is you see the finished episodes, right? You see what we put out there. But you don't see everything that happens before someone ever sits down in front of me, or across from me, or multiple people sit down with me. You don't see what's going on behind the scenes in the preparation for the interviews. Occasionally I'll tease it out on my social media that, I spent the day working on scripts, and people who are writers, TV writers or filmmaker friends will poke me and be like, what scripts are you working on? I'm like, the scripts for these shows, so that we're crafting really curated, professional, thoughtful human conversations. We're not just, spewing out AI slop or asking what I call random, lazy podcast success story type questions, right? I spend a couple hours trying to prepare for each conversation, studying people's history, researching their backgrounds, understanding their businesses or their leadership tendencies or their political office and influence. We're constantly trying to craft what you then see that gets produced out into the channels and the feeds every Thursday, right? We're doing it now, by the way, talking a little bit about our team. We're doing it now with a new member of our team, with Fernando Lopez, who's joined us from Mexico City. He came to us under the tutelage and guidance of the incredible Deanna Bernal, who, if you've been watching or listening to the show for the last 6 years, you know that Deanna Bernal has been an integral, critical key piece of the success that we've had in producing and creating the types of conversations that you love to listen to or that you participate in as alumnus guests. Deanna has, at 27 years old, moved on to a new chapter in her life, which is amazing. The fact that she and I built what we built and had so much quality time and incredible memories and created stuff that we co-created and things that she created solo over the last 6 years was a gift to me in this business and also just at this point in my life. And so I was excited to help support her in her journey to go be more entrepreneurial in her own way in Mexico and with her family and with friends and doing some different things in her life for the first time, basically having spent from 18 to 27, almost 28, editing and producing incredible video and audio. It was time for her to explore a different part of herself. And she helped us find Fernando, who is incredible in his own right. He's been with us a couple of months. And the best news is that if the shows that you've been consuming lately haven't changed much and you don't feel like there's been a big change creatively or aesthetically, that's because Fernando is as good at the job as he is. He has helped us, as we say, maintain the standard that you all became used to and accustomed to, while also slowly smartly, creatively beginning to add in his own flair and his own vision for what he and I can create new as we take this to new levels going forward. So there's a constancy to what we do. I'm constantly reaching out, trying to build relationships with our guests. I'm constantly learning from people off camera as we talk for a couple minutes before the shows, or some people who give me time and have time with me to talk for a couple minutes after the shows. Obviously, you've seen the video side of our show grow. A lot of that has to do with the platforms and less to do with us. Deanna was the original instigator that said, come on, boss, we got to get you on video. It's 2020 something, right? Like you have to catch up to the world. But now that we're here, I'm not going to lie, I'm still a purist. I'm still an audiophile guy. I still listen to our shows when they release first on my walks. But I do watch them, and I enjoy watching them because I enjoy me waving my hands and acting like the crazy man that I am, and watching our guests smile and respond so thoughtfully to fascinating questions. And we'll continue to grow the video side of the business in new ways. Fernando and I are going to try and figure out some ways to be more creative and more prolific about our clips and our shorts, as they call them on YouTube. Apple, we've understood now, Apple Podcast as one of our distribution platforms on the audio side is now adding video for them to try and compete with Spotify. On Spotify, if you listen or consume our show on Spotify, now in your own tool, you can toggle between audio or video. It's your choice, not ours. So we just produce it once and we put it out there, and it is what it is. But there's challenges that come with all of this, right? It's an immense amount of work. The work humbles you. The work breaks us down sometimes. It's a hustle. We wouldn't be able to do all the things we do without each other in this case, without this small little team. Anna Paula Tenorio, who's no longer with us, set the foundation for us administratively and operationally, and she's still a great friend. And I just talked to her the other day, and she's so proud of what we're creating, and she might come back in and help us do some things as we try and grow. There are adjacent opportunities that are presenting themselves here, which you've heard me talk about a few times before. You used to hear me talk about it if you listened to my old show, Stoppage Time, that ran for a couple years. It was kind of a one-on-one type of thing like this. But I finally begun to work on my book project. We'll be figuring out this summer with my editors and my publishing agency from Mexico City exactly what shape that's going to take and what stories we're going to tell. But I can tell you it's going to be rooted in entrepreneurial thinking. That's obviously, and I'm learning constantly. Honestly, this year on a personal level has been tough. It's been a challenging year. 2026 has gotten off to kind of a bumpy start. As you may or may not have heard me reference in some different episodes, I tore all the meniscus in my left knee. So I had an injury that I suffered around Halloween, so around October 31st of 2025. And I'm now here in June, and I am just still in the process of recovery, rehabilitation, physical therapy. Surgery is out there in the future as kind of a fallback option. The doctors, my surgeon, and our physical therapists don't think we need to do that. They think they can strengthen my knee at 58 years old so I can get back out there and be as active as I want to be, which means walking 3-5 miles a day, hiking 7 to 10 miles on the weekends. I'd like to add riding bike. I've got a stationary bike that the kids gave to me this summer to take care of for them. So I want to start using that. I'd like to start doing some yoga maybe later in 2025 or 2026 and into 2027 when my knee is strong enough again, because I definitely need to get in shape. I've put on some knee injury weight that is not make me happy, and it's not a healthy thing for me at 58 years old. But I'm learning a ton. I'm thinking about a ton. I'm learning so much from the conversations that I get to have. I'm learning from the DMs and the questions and the comments that I get after episodes drop from you all and our audience, and also from our alumnus, from our guests. There's so many things I'm fascinated by. I always say that our show is really, frankly, driven by my curiosities, and that my curiosities and our questions are a proxy for you and our audience, right? I'm trying to ask and think about the things that I think about, but also that I think the larger world needs to think about. And just some of them that come to mind as we look forward, and some of the conversations we'll have, like the future of education, like in general, in the broadest terms, and then also the future of entrepreneurial education. We talked with Logan Herzog this year in northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan, kind of off the beaten path of traditional big entrepreneurial cities. We talked to him about how we can revolutionize entrepreneurial education in this country and do better at it. We talked with Jenny Flores and Grace Lee earlier this year about that from the Bay Area point of view, and about how they're doing better to not only educate and empower and support entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs in particular, but also how to capitalize them. We talked about it with Allison Byers, who is not only one of our amazing, famous, great alumnus guests, but she's also a sponsor of the work that we do here. And she's got her new book out and she's on her book tour right now this summer. And she talks all the time about how we can do better at entrepreneurial education and support. We're going to talk a lot about AI and human creativity and where those two things meet. I alluded to some conversations we'll have coming up around the entertainment industry. And yes, that's easy because we're surrounded by so many folks here in Los Angeles, where it is the epicenter of entertainment and creativity and intellectual property creation. But we're also going to talk to other people in different parts of the world to get their perspectives on that. We will always talk about the role of storytelling in leadership in the broadest sense, right? We're always going to talk about how to build meaningful relationships in a digital world. We're going to continually seek out opportunities to uncover entrepreneurial thinking that is happening outside of the business world, not to distract from business or the entrepreneurial focus of a lot of you as guests or as audience members, but to enhance your lives, to offer you the fresh perspectives of people who are thinking about things just completely differently and very much in entrepreneurial ways, even though they might not be considered entrepreneurs in the strict economic business sense of things, right? So what I've learned is that we don't necessarily just need more answers. We actually need more questions. And we need to question ourselves and each other more, because that's where not only will we find our path forward, we'll find the real solutions, but we will find the things that we should be thinking about. And then we can take those lessons from other industries, from other sectors or segments of society, and we can apply them to our own work and world that we live in. All of this is driven by people, right? And there's so much and so many people I have to be thankful for, right? I mean, you all, I've already said it. I can't do any of this if there aren't people listening to us. And although we haven't been able to be in a position to spend a lot of money on forced growth or acquired growth, our organic growth just continues to just kind of spike along. Some conversations resonate more with more people than others do. Some less, but then some kind of invariably pick up, and we see viewership or listenership just kind of tick up over time. And that's why I say, like, all of the archive, our 212 some odd episodes, or almost 250 by the time we're done with 2026. That's like a library of knowledge. It's a library of Congress, to use an American reference point, right? It is a place where are just decades and decades and decades and probably centuries full of knowledge in the lives and experiences of these entrepreneurial thinkers that I'm inviting in to talk with us every week. So I'm grateful for that. Those people, our alumnus, our guests, are the backbone of what we're doing here. But I wouldn't be able to do it, as I talked about, without our partners and our sponsors. I mean, literally, we have had from probably early 2024, late 2023, kind of a backbone of both individuals, families, families, and organizations, companies or organizations that have stepped forward and sponsored my work so that I could literally try to do this for a living while also trying to build out other avenues in which I could use my storytelling and our relationships to try and make a bigger impact. And I can't express in words simply, or I can't overstate it. I probably understate it all the time, right? How critically valuable our sponsors and partners are. Without them, this doesn't happen. Without them, I might be working at Target as a stock boy at night or something. So it's an imperfect, bumpy road. I am being totally honest and transparent. Like I said, 2026 has been difficult with the knee injury, with some personal stressors in our family that kind of will keep private mostly, with just the difficulty of the economy, both here in the United States and in a macro way in the world, where everybody is so uncertain. There's so much uncertainty and so much incongruity kind of being injected into our daily lives through our politics. And it has just made acquiring new sponsors, made sponsors being able to sponsor at the levels that they would like to. It's made everything more difficult. And so to say that I am grateful for every penny or peso of sponsorship that has come in, and then to also humbly say that I am going to continually come back to the community and to outsiders and ask people to support what we're doing and support me, is an understatement, because I am, and I am. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. Obviously, as I already said, Fernando Lopez, I would not be able to do what we're doing now today, these last couple months, and going forward without him. But we never would have gotten here if not for Deanna, if not for Ana Paula, as I've already talked about. such a joyfulness that happens in what we get to do. And I am not being hyperbolic or silly or self-aggrandizing when I say that literally this is the greatest joy of my life. I'm 58 years old and I trace what I'm doing now, these conversations that I get to have every week that we bring to you every week, the co-creation that I get to do with Fernando on our show, the work that we get to do with our client shows now, right? There's a whole other side of this that I haven't talked a ton about, that is under the umbrella of the Storytellers Company, which is our podcast production business, right? And even we do some things that are non-podcasty, they're kind of video series type production things. And that has been incredible. We've got 2 of those shows. You've heard me reference them before. Our Entrepreneurship Reimagined show by Leaf, our friends at Leaf, which is an economic development organization that focuses on the brown and black-skinned entrepreneurial community, primarily in the disadvantaged, under-supported areas of Los Angeles, led by the incredible team at Leaf and by my incredible friend and our client and our leader, Elaine Rodriguez. And then we've got our show that we're building for my friend, longtime friend, Chris Stock, at Sales MD in the aesthetic wellness industry, called the Aesthetic Business Success Show. And it's been a blast to be behind the scenes and be the producers behind the scenes to help make that a reality, to create the content that goes around, basically just helping businesses, organizations like yours, maybe, to tell your stories, right? As we say to our podcasting clients, right? It's the idea that when you're searching for your brand voice, which everybody is doing in this noisy world that we live in, there is no more authentic voice than your literal voice, right? Than the voice and the energy and the passion of what you do and why you do it. Like our marketing stack that we use in business in today, in 2026, is basically the same that it's been since 2010. It's 2-dimensional. It's flat. It's static. It's not dynamic. It's social media, which no one uses as an actual social engagement tool anymore. They use it as a broadcast media tool, right? It's websites. It's newsletters. It's maybe you do webinars every once in a while. But again, even the webinars that get done, you probably are tending to broadcast information out to your audience with little trickles of interaction during the event only, right? And that's not really engaging. And so to me, biased as I am because of my own experiences in storytelling via this medium, and then my own as a consumer of storytelling via this medium of podcasting, I think it is the modern day most effective marketing brand storytelling tool that you could possibly deploy on behalf of your company or organization. And we are now here to help you do that. And that business line helps us to then support and grow our podcasts and the book and the future podcast live tour that we want to bring to your cities where all of our alumnus exist. So it's a combination of revenue streams, right, that enable me to do this business. And yet I'm still, of course, finding myself having to try and generate other revenue streams. Shameless plug here, trying to generate some executive consulting work, some executive coaching work that I could do in very specific circumstances where I could be of value, where I could bring my 40-year career across multiple continents and huge different industries, all kinds of growth and relationship development experiences. And there's a couple interesting conversations going on now, but if you know people that are interested in that kind of talent or experience for a fraction of the cost, like I'm your guy, and that would be, again, helpful as another revenue stream to help us build what we're building. So that's the shameless plug part of today. That's the thanks and gratitude part of today. As I've said to you before, I mean, we've got incredible conversations coming up. We're going to talk to people in new industries, in different communities. We're going to talk to people about AI in entertainment. We're also going to talk to people about AI and investing in AI in India. We're going to go back to the African continent. We're going to talk to people in Africa and talk about venture capital and private capital growth and equity growth in the entrepreneurial economies of Africa, as we have visited before, for example, with Frederick from Jago Technologies. We're gonna learn what's going on in other parts of the world, not so much so we can chase other parts of the world, so we can offer these lessons back to you here at home, wherever you are, whatever you're trying to build. I'm super excited. As I said before, we've got 9 or 10 guests already booked. We've got another queue of probably 20 to 25 guests that I'm constantly chasing. I want to bring some people in to talk about women's sports. So I'm constantly pestering people that are in leadership positions around the women's sports movement here in the US and abroad. I want to talk to more people about what's going on in Mexico from an economic development and growth standpoint, as well as from a city standpoint. I've spent so much time so passionately in the different communities, the different entrepreneurial economies of Mexico. I want to do that. As I alluded to, we're always looking for collaborators and ways to fund and underwrite our ability to do more things, to engage with you, to create more of these conversations. I want to create live events. I've been talking about Entrepreneurial Thinkers Live for 2.5 years. It's on the whiteboard. Literally, it's in the business plan. I want to make that a reality, but I can't afford to do that by myself. And so we're going to need partners to help us do that, collaborations to try and create that. There is so much to create. There's so much to talk about. There's so much more to learn. If you guys have ideas, if you have things that you're working on that you're obsessed about in any area across industry or society, public or private, if you're in government, if you're in education, if you're in research, if you're in science, I would love to talk to some doctors about the innovative thinking and entrepreneurial thinking that has to be going on in the medical community nowadays, both from a science standpoint as well as from the business of healthcare and health services and health insurance and stuff. So there's so much going on. But I want to kind of remind you at the end of this all, like, I'm doing this because the more conversations that I have, the more convinced that I become that entrepreneurial thinking isn't just for entrepreneurs. You've heard me say it in the intro. It's in the show description of our show across all the different platforms. Like I love entrepreneurs and I love entrepreneurial investors, but I believe that there is more to the world than just talking to entrepreneurs or just talking to entrepreneurial investors about startups alone. That will always be a part of our DNA conversationally, but I fundamentally believe, and I believe it now more than ever in June of 2026, that our world is desperately crying out for fresh ideas. It's desperately crying out for new leaders, but also new ways to lead and new ways to serve more people more equitably, more often in more places. And I ultimately believe those people are today's entrepreneurial thinkers. And they are the people that are going to lead us to create the models of what our world will look like over the next 50 to 100 years. I recently had a conversation that's one of our most recent episodes with a friend, Jerome Chang, who's an architect, a designer, and an operator of co-working spaces here in Los Angeles called Blank Spaces. And Jerome and I got deep into this idea that we are living in a built world, like a physically built world, in 2026 that was actually really effectively designed for a world of 1975. And we just haven't updated it yet. We haven't hit the refresh button yet. In almost every aspect, both the physical dynamic of the world that we live in, that we walk in, that we transit through, that we work in, as well as the kind of the metaphorical world that we live in. We are overdue for a refresh. And refreshing, innovative, reimagined ideas about how we can be better versions of our collective self only come from the people that I refer to as entrepreneurial thinkers. And we need them desperately across every sector and segment of society and industry in this country, in every country around the world, simultaneously and endlessly from now and probably until the day I die. Maybe I've got 30, 35, 40 years left. So I'm going to do everything within my power to continue to curate, lovingly experience these conversations with the alumnus guests as we continue to add alumnus to our community. And we're going to continue to deliver this for you all so that you can take all these lessons like I've been taking these lessons. Teachers, community leaders, artists, scientists, public servants, parents, anyone trying to improve anything around them, right? We're going to take all this, not just building businesses, but building better communities, better organizations, better futures. And we're going to share this with you all so that we can try to, as we say in the opening of every episode, understand how we can navigate this complex, complicated world that we live in a little bit better while also aspiring to leave it a little bit better than we found it, which is what my mom always implored us to do as kids, to just try and leave every room, every relationship, every experience, every bit of the world that you interact with a bit better than you found it. So that's it. Thank you for spending part of this week with me, just me and you. Enjoy your summer. Keep building, keep learning, keep connecting. And I'm going to see you again next week for another fantastic episode of Entrepreneurial Thinkers on Thursday. Love you. Grateful for all of you. Wish you all nothing but the best. And I'll see you right back here on the next side of our next episode. And don't forget to find us, follow us, share episodes with your friends and your family members, your coworkers, and your community. Find us on social media at I am Rob Ryan. Find us at Entrepreneurial Thinkers across all the different platforms. Find us in video on Spotify or Apple or wherever the videos show up, or on YouTube. And then share those clips. We put out clips every week. Share those bits of the show that you enjoyed. Share the link to the show with a friend to get them to listen about something they're talking about. If you see guests, if you see topics, if you see things that we're talking about, you want us to connect you to those people. Tap me, hit me up in DMs, follow me up, find me on social media, send me a message, text me if you know me, email me if you know us at robryan@storytellerscompany.com. But we're here to do good work for you in these conversations with these incredible people. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful for you. So thank you. And as always, we thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's show was produced by our team at the Storytellers Company in Mexico City and Los Angeles. And you can always find, follow, subscribe, and share our show as found on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you find your favorite podcast by searching Entrepreneurial Thinkers with Rob Ryan. You can also follow along on our various social media platforms for clips and contents at Entrepreneurial Thinkers. And if you'd like to connect with me, our host, you can find me just about anywhere on social under the handle I am Rob Ryan. Thanks, and have a great day.